Hello and welcome back to Allie Bakes, where I am baking my way through the Cordon Bleu Pastry School textbook. Today we are starting the chapter entitled Gateaux, Cakes, and Entremets, and we are starting out with a lemon pound cake. Today we have a very special guest helping us out, my little sister Amanda, sporting her very own Allie Bakes trademark chef hat. Because if there's one thing I know about being a stay-at-home YouTube baker, it's all about the merchandising. Let's get started. First off, I am preheating my oven to 356 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this recipe actually calls for 3 14 by 6 centimeter loaf tins. Didn't have those, but I did have this regular loaf tin, so we're gonna use that instead, and we're buttering and flouring it. We're gonna call that good enough. Now 4 eggs are going into a bowl, and I am finally convinced that it is our genetics, which makes us get eggshells and everything we crack eggs into. Oh, bro. Okay. And then we're adding the zest of 4 lemons into our mixing bowl and mixing that together. Next, we're gonna whisk in 170 grams of white sugar until the mixture becomes pale and fluffy. After that, a pinch of baking powder goes into 170 grams of flour, and that gets mixed together before getting fed to the mixer. And that gets stirred until just combined. You know, I think it was William Shakespeare who said, "If butter be the food of love, drink on." So we are melting 160 grams of unsalted butter and adding that to our mixture as well. And while that was being mixed, we actually got some free entertainment because Luna and Lobo were doing their best WWE impersonation in their box. You know, believe it or not, after this, Lobo actually cracked a folding chair over Luna's head. It was really wild. So, butter is combined, batter is made. We are now going to pour this into our prepared loaf tin. I am a lover of all things lemon flavored, and this smelled amazing. We gave it a few good taps on the counter to get the air bubbles out, and then this thing went into the oven. The top. Oh, be careful of it. You stuck your finger in it. And we were good to go. While the cake was in the oven, we had to make our 100 grams of apricot glaze. The book didn't give me instructions on how to do this, so I just got some apricot preserves and melted them over the stove until they went from thick goo to thin goo. And then we poured our goo into our sifter, and Amanda dutifully sifted out all of the chunks. And thanks, no thanks to Le Cordon Bleu, but I think that's how you make an apricot glaze. Now, because I modified my baking equipment, I wasn't exactly sure how long this was gonna take, but 45 felt like a good number to me. So I just kept an eye on it. I was looking for a little brownness around the edge, maybe a little on top, but I really just wanted that middle part of the cake to poof up. I did my first knife test at 45 minutes. It didn't quite pass, but it was really close, so I let it hang out for probably about 51 minutes total, and then I pulled it out. And boy, that thing smelled like childhood nostalgia. My mom used to make a lemonade cake, which was lemon box cake with lemonade concentrate poured over it, and this smelled almost exactly like that. My feel-good nostalgia mood was peppered with fear that this cake would not release from the bottom of the pan, as some of my cakes are apt to do, but we got a clean release. I was thrilled. Next, we just had to glaze our hot cake with the 100 grams of apricot glaze and let that soak in while the cake was cooling. And while that was cooling down, it was time to start on our second glaze of this pound cake recipe, which was pretty much just icing sugar and lemon juice. I went a little heavy on the lemon juice. It only called for 2 tablespoons. I probably gave it 3, but that's because I like my sour desserts really, really sour. And we just poured this over our partially cooled cake. After our second glaze went on, I threw this thing back in the oven for exactly 1 minute. I guess the book wanted just enough time to let that frostingy, lemony goodness form a little case or shell around the lemon loaf. And there it is, our Le Cordon Bleu lemon pound cake. Again, mine looks a little more rustic than the picture. My loaf's a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit flatter, but I was pretty pleased with how it came out, how it looked. I was relieved, as I always am when I cut into my cakes and I find that they are baked all the way through and there's no gooey bits in the middle. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but toot toot, I'm pretty sure this was baked perfectly.
I think if it didn't have the glaze on it, it would have no flavor.
Oh! Alright.
But it was good.
I thought it was really good. There's no like juice in the cake, it's just lemon zest. So that's probably why I liked it. I thought it was lemony.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's super moist. They call this like a travel cake. I just spit everywhere. They call this like a travel cake because you're supposed to be able to travel with it for 3 days. And it won't lose any moisture because it's like dense, like, I don't know if it's a pound cake, but it's like one of those really thick, moist loaf cakes. I thought it was really good.
It was good.
Yeah. So even though my sister was kind of being a cake hater, I think this is my favorite recipe that I've made yet because it kind of reminded me why I love baking in the first place. Because you get to share it with the people that you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.